It was the 9th year of Jingguan in the Great Tang Dynasty. I was walking down the main street of Chang'an, and the reaction from the crowd was instantaneous. "Quick, get out of the way. His Highness, the Prince of Shu, is coming," a pedestrian hissed to a nearby vendor. The vendor didn't seem too worried at first. "What are you afraid of? The Prince of Shu doesn't bully commoners like us." "You idiot," the pedestrian whispered back. "I heard he's on his way to cause trouble for Zhang Sun Chong, the eldest son of the Zhang Sun clan." That changed everything. Without a word, the vendor scrambled to pack his stall and dragged it deep into the shadows of an alley. I watched this play out with a sigh. It was true. I didn't bully the common people. In fact, I'd helped quite a few refugees in the past. But when it came to the sons of the nobility, that was a different story. Zhang Sun Chong was my favorite target. Before the 5th year of Jingguan, he only caught a beating from me 7 or 8 times a year. But once word got out that Princess Changle was supposed to marry him, his luck ran out. I ruined the wedding plans and moved him to a strict schedule, 1 beating per month. Last month, rumor had it I thrashed him because he stepped into a shop with his left foot first. "You guys are slandering me," I muttered under my breath, feeling a bit annoyed as I listened to the whispers. I didn't have time for Zhang Sun Chong today. And for the record, I didn't hit him last month because of his left foot. I hit him because he saw me, realized his mistake, and tried to back out of the shop. That I couldn't tolerate. Today, I had bigger fish to fry. I was heading to the palace to have a showdown with my cheap, old man, the Emperor. I wanted to leave. I wanted to take up my post in Ezhou and get out of this city. I had been stuck in this world for 8 years. Finally, the golden finger system in my head was ready. Tucked inside my robe was a piece of truth that definitely didn't belong to this era, a handgun. With that weight against my chest, I felt confident again. I was done with Chang'an. My father had started propping up Li Tai recently, and now the eldest brother and the 4th brother were fighting like dogs every single day. It was exhausting. Neither of them realized they wouldn't end up as emperor anyway, so why bother? Being an emperor was the worst job imaginable. You woke up earlier than a rooster, slept later than a dog, and worked harder than a tenant farmer. No matter how well you did, someone like Wei Zheng would be there to scream at you for it. Ezhou was much better. In modern terms, it was the Qingdu Plain. It was far from the capital, protected by mountains, and the emperor was a world away. Being a local king sounded perfect. I wouldn't have to manage the boring paperwork, but I'd still be the boss. "Prince of Shu, I heard young Master Zhang Sun hasn't left his manor yet. Maybe you should wait for him," a bold citizen shouted from the side of the road. I laughed. "Look at you, giving me tips. But don't slander me. I'm a man of culture. I'm not going there to fight. I'm going to talk reason." The street erupted in laughter. A man of culture? The livestock in Chang'an would laugh at that claim. Everyone in the Tang dynasty knew that while I had a face that looked exactly like the emperor's, I had the personality of Cheng Yaojin. Actually, that wasn't fair. Even Cheng Yaojin talked reason sometimes. I just used my fists and skipped the talking. I ignored them. They didn't understand me. As a soul from the future, I knew that history books were just cold words. To survive in this era without getting executed for being different, I had to take the initiative. From the time I was a kid, I made sure to be as loud and rule-breaking as possible. Once everyone got used to my nonsense, I could say whatever I wanted, and they'd just shrug it off as typically cool. It had been a long, bitter road to build this reputation. And really, I wasn't going to hit Zhang Sun Chong today. Although I hadn't beaten him yet this month, there was always tomorrow. I headed straight for the palace. I hated carriages. Those wooden wheels were pure torture. Since arriving in this world, the only thing I never neglected was my physical training and martial arts. My body was strong. It had to be. If I wasn't tough, I wouldn't have survived all the times Li Shimin hit me with a military cane. The court wasn't in session, so I entered the palace and grabbed a passing eunuch near the Taiji Hall. "Is my father in the Liangyi Hall?" I asked. The eunuch jumped, nearly jumping out of his skin. When he saw it was me, he let out a massive sigh of relief and bowed low. "Replying to your highness, the emperor is in the Liangyi Hall handling state affairs." "Any other ministers there?" "No, your highness. The emperor is working alone." "Good. Carry on," I said, patting him on the shoulder. As I walked away, the eunuch wiped sweat from his forehead. He didn't mind me. People called me a thug, but I was always decent to the servants unless they messed up big time. If he had run into the fourth prince instead, he probably would have lost a layer of skin for not bowing fast enough. I reached the doors of the Liangyi Hall and didn't even wait for the guards to announce me. "Dad, I'm here," I shouted. I'd been calling him Dad in private for years. Li Shimin was used to it by now. In the Tang dynasty, you were supposed to call your father Lord or Father in formal settings, or Old Man, or even Brother in private. None of that sat right with me. I used the term Dad, which had existed since the Three Kingdoms period but wasn't popular in the Tang. Inside the hall, Li Shimin felt a headache coming on. His personality wasn't like this, and Consort Yang wasn't like this either. How did they produce this kid? If I didn't look exactly like he did when he was young, he probably would have questioned his DNA. But compared to all the trouble I'd caused over the years, a weird nickname was the least of his concerns. I didn't wait for an invitation. I pushed the doors open with a loud creak and walked right in. "Why are you here again?" Li Shimin asked, his head down as he scrolled through a petition. "Look at you, talking like that," I said with a grin. "I'm here to see my own father. Do I need a reason? I just wanted to see how you're eating and if your health is holding up." I strolled over and plopped down into a chair near his desk. I'd actually invented these chairs. Before me, everyone was still sitting on the floor like suckers. I sat there, leaning back, watching the most powerful man in the world work. I honestly wasn't trying to be a genius when I invented things like soap or these chairs. Back in my past life, I studied electronic engineering. None of that knowledge was useful in the Tang dynasty. But I liked my comfort. Sitting on the floor or those hard, awkward mats the nobles used was a nightmare. Once I made a proper chair for myself, I naturally gave one to my cheap dad so he could enjoy it too. That was how chairs started spreading through the empire. "If you'd just stop making me angry, that would be enough," Li Shimin said, looking up from his desk. He sounded annoyed, but I knew better. Deep down, he was actually touched. I knew I was a bit of a brat, and my personality was closer to his rowdy generals like Cheng Yaojin or Yu Qigong than a refined prince. But I had what he called a pure heart. As the man who took the throne during the Xuanwu Gate incident, Li Shimin lived in constant fear that his own sons would one day kill each other just like he had killed his brothers. He craved real family affection. Most of his kids were terrified of him. They were stiff and formal. I was the only one who treated him like a regular dad. I said whatever was on my mind and never hid my intentions. Even when I needed a favor, I just barged in and asked. It hit him right in his soft spot. Despite the scolding, he was more relaxed with me than he was with anyone else, even his closest advisors. "Yeah, so I guess that means you're in a good mood today?" I asked with a wide grin. "What do you want now?" Li Shimin asked, instantly becoming guarded. "Did you cause more trouble?" I rolled my eyes. "Is that all I am to you? A troublemaker? Isn't it?" he snapped, squinting at me. "Since you were 8 years old, people have been complaining about you every other day. I've lost years of my life because of you. I'll probably die of anger because of your stunts." "That was just me being young and reckless," I said, waving a hand dismissively to change the subject. "I'm grown up now. I'm actually here to ask for something serious. But if I hadn't been a brat all those years, would we even be able to talk like this?" Li Shimin sat as still as a mountain. "What is it? Tell me first." I'm not agreeing to anything blindly. I decided to lay my cards on the table. I want to go to my post. I want to leave for Izhou. Li Shimin froze for a second, then his eyes sharpened. "Izhou? Why the sudden urge to leave?" He looked at me suspiciously, probably wondering what kind of scheme I was cooking up. Most princes fought to stay in the capital where the power was. Why would I want to go to a far-off province? "It's not sudden," I said flatly. "I've thought about it for a long time. I don't want to get caught in the crossfire between Big Brother and the fourth prince. It's annoying." I decided to be blunt. Most people were too scared to speak the truth, but I knew Li Shimin's temperament. In history, the crown prince, Li Changqian, would eventually rebel in the 17th year of the Jingguan era, but he was driven to it. Li Shimin was already starting to show favoritism toward the fourth son, Li Tai. Even now, in the 9th year of Jingguan, the tension was building. Next year, Li Tai would be made Prince of Wei, piling even more pressure on the crown prince. Being the heir was a death trap. "What have you heard?" Li Shimin's brow furrowed. "I don't need to hear anything, Dad," I said, leaning forward. "There are no secrets between us. It's about the succession. Rumors that you're going to depose the crown prince and replace him with Li Tai have been flying around for ages. Don't tell me you don't know. Bang. Li Shimin slammed his hand onto the desk and stood up, his face red with fury. Nonsense. Who told you to say this? If I were any other sibling, I would have been shaking on the floor. But I'd spent 8 years testing his limits. I knew his temper. If a minister said this, he might kill them. But his son? No way. I honestly thought he was mostly acting. Dad, stop it, I said, shrugging. I've grown up watching you get mad at me. Aside from scaring me, what are you actually going to do? If I'm wrong, just give me 20 lashes to vent your anger and let's move on. Li Shimin's anger deflated instantly. I had spent years wearing down his patience until he simply had none left to lose. He sat back down, looking defeated. Speak your mind and get out, he grumbled. He wasn't above using rough language. He had spent years leading soldiers, after all. Simple, I said. I want to go to Ijo. I want to stay out of this mess and just be a carefree prince. You? Li Shimin looked like he was about to explode again. Do you have no ambition at all? You came here just to tell me you want to be a lazy royal? Look, let's be real. It doesn't matter if I have ambition. Big brother is the crown prince. Even if you get rid of him, do I really have a chance? I ignored his changing expression and kept going. Since I don't have a shot, I might as well enjoy my life. As the poem goes, when things go your way, enjoy them to the fullest. Never let your golden cup sit empty under the moon. Li Shimin blinked, stunned by the lines of the poem. Behind him, his head eunuch, Chong Lin, was breaking out in a cold sweat. Chong Lin had seen everything in this palace, but every time I showed up, I made his heart skip a beat. No one else dared to talk to the emperor like this. But then again, I was the only one who had earned this privilege through years of beatings, groundings, and docked allowances. I was finally ready to fly free. Li Shimin looked me up and down, his expression shifting into something strange. I could tell he was processing what I'd just said. Despite my reputation as a royal brat, I had always been a top student. My grades were excellent, even if my behavior was a nightmare. How could you have no chance? Li Shimin asked. He didn't mind discussing this with me. If anyone else had brought up the succession, he would have had their head. But with me, it didn't matter. I was a loose cannon. I was the only person in the empire who would dare suggest he depose the crown prince, Li Chengqian, right to his face. I was just that reckless. Dad, why are you lying to yourself? I rolled my eyes, feeling exasperated. Just look at one thing. Who is my mother? She's a princess from the previous dynasty. With that bloodline, do you really think those ministers would ever let me sit on the throne? Let's be real here. Li Shimin glared at me. If anyone else had spoken to him like that, he would have ordered 20 strokes of the heavy staff immediately. But with me, it was useless. I had been beaten since I was a kid. To me, the military staff was like a daily meal. It had lost all its deterrent power. He couldn't actually kill his own son, and believe me, he had tried to be tough. There were times he told the guards to hit me for real. My backside had been a bloody mess more than once, but my personality never changed. What could he do? Who told you that? Li Shimin snapped, looking annoyed. I am the emperor. I decide who the prince is. It has nothing to do with your mother's background. He was clearly flustered. Even if it was the truth, he wasn't about to admit it. Really? I don't believe you, I said casually, giving him a skeptical look. You're going to be the death of me. Li Shimin nearly choked on his rage. What is that tone? You look down on your own father? Dad, I didn't come here to beg for the throne, I said, cutting him off before his temper could peak. To be honest, even if you gave me the job of emperor, I wouldn't take it. Just let me go to my post in Ijo. Li Shimin paused. Why did everyone else crave the throne while I treated it like a plague? Tell me today, he growled. Why don't you want to be emperor? If you don't give me a good reason, you're taking 40 hits before you leave. It's because that job is a nightmare, I blurted out. The emperor has to wake up earlier than a rooster and sleep later than a. I caught myself just in time. If I finished that sentence, I really would get the belt. I'd grown used to the pain over the last 8 years, but I wasn't a masochist. Sleep later than what? Keep talking, Li Shimin sneered. He knew me too well. He knew that whenever I opened my mouth, something disrespectful was bound to come out. Later than the night watchman. I pivoted quickly. Look at you. You work yourself to the bone for the people of Tang. like a silkworm spinning until it dies, or a candle burning until it's nothing but ash. You endure the arrogance of the great noble families just for the commoners. You're like an ox, bowing your head to serve the children. I don't have that kind of spirit. I just can't do it. Li Shimin stared at me, his face a mask of confusion. Where did you copy those lines from? Copy? Dad, who do you think I am? I am the son of the former Prince of Qin, the current emperor, and the future great Khan who will unite the world. Why would I need to copy? Li Shimin squinted at me. He looked suspicious. It wasn't every day his rebellious son started showering him with high-level poetic praise. Fine. So you just want to go to your post to avoid the mess here? Why can't you just stay in the capital and stay out of it? Dad, have you ever heard the saying? I sighed. Once you're in the world of men, you're no longer your own master. It's a trap. Li Shimin studied me. I was laying it on thick, but I could see I was getting through to him. Going to Ijo isn't impossible, he said slowly. But your rank is commander-in-chief. If you go, you have to take full control of the military and the administration. No, absolutely not. I waved my hands frantically. Dad, let me tell you, that's a terrible idea. History shows that when one person holds all the power in a province, they just end up bullying the people and lying to the throne. It's a recipe for rebellion. You need to separate the military and the civil government. I started pacing, getting into it. The military leader should only handle the army. The civil leader should handle the people. The army needs the civil side for supplies, and the civil side needs the army for protection. They check and balance each other. And if you're worried about generals getting too powerful, just rotate them regularly. Better yet, build a military academy. You be the principal. Train the mid-level officers yourself so their loyalty is to you, not their generals. I looked him dead in the eye. A prince like me? I have the status and the rank. The best thing for me is to have zero real power. That way, I can't get any bright ideas about the throne. Just give me a title with no responsibilities and send your own people to handle the real work. It solves everything. Li Shimin and his head eunuch, Chong Lin, looked like they had seen a ghost. It was like a village idiot suddenly giving a masterclass on political science. My ideas were brilliant, and I could see the spark of interest in Li Shimin's eyes. But then he realized the catch. I wasn't saying this for the good of the empire. I was saying it so I could be a lazy, do-nothing prince. His anger flared up again. I've worked so hard for years, and I fathered a brat like you? Look at yourself. You think people won't try to pull you into their schemes just because you're lazy? You think your ULI trading company hasn't made you a target? He looked at me with pure disappointment. Don't you know the social order? Scholars, farmers, artisans, and then merchants. Merchants are at the bottom. They are looked down upon. And yet you spend every day playing with money. Oh, how original, I snapped back. Dad, does anything you eat or wear get to you without money? That's what merchants do. How do the people of Chang'an get goods from all 360 prefectures? Merchants. You're basically eating the food and then cursing the person who cooked it. Li Shimin's eyebrow twitched. Are you begging for a beating today? I nearly jumped out of my skin. When he said he'd hit me, he meant it. Wait. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. I yelled. Dad, our family is the imperial family. The whole world is yours. That social order stuff? That's for other people to believe, not you. Think about it. Farmers are the foundation, fine. But artisans? Everything we use, from clothes to tools, comes from them. Without them, we'd still be farming with sticks and stones. And weapons? Without artisans, we have no army. The Great Tang's army was unstoppable because of its weapons. But without artisans, we'd have no irrigation, no bridges to cross our rivers, and no ships to sail the land. Even the palace my father lived in, the carriage he rode, and the very chopsticks he used to eat, all of it came from the hands of artisans. How could people so vital be ranked third in the social order? It made no sense. Then I moved on to the merchants at the bottom. People called them greedy, but I looked my father in the eye and asked him a hard question. Which of the great noble families didn't have a hand in business? Which high-ranking official didn't own a few shops or inns? Merchants handled the logistics of the entire empire. In a massive city like Chang'an, without merchants, who would bring the grain? Who would bring the silk? They made the Tang dynasty flourish. They were a link in the chain that we couldn't live without. Finally, I circled back to the top of the list, the scholars and the noble families. I told him the truth. Most of them were just parasites, sucking the blood out of the common people while doing absolutely nothing. The biggest pests in the empire were ranked number 1. Why? Because they monopolized the books and used them as tools to control the masses. You might not like hearing it, Dad, I said, leaning in. But dynasties rise and fall, while these noble families stay forever. I was totally cutting loose now. In the past, I wouldn't have dared to say these things, but I didn't care anymore. If things went south, I'd just run away. With the system in my head, the world was mine to explore. Li Shimin looked at me with a strange expression. Have you forgotten? Our Li family is also a noble family. Aren't we just pretending to be one to fit in? I blurted out instinctively. My father looked like he was about to have a stroke. You little rebel. Where the hell did you hear that? Haha, misunderstanding. Just a misunderstanding, Dad. I waved my hands frantically. I mean, our perspective has changed. We're the imperial family now. We represent the state. We have to think about the people, so we can't be lumped in with those other noble houses. I didn't give him a chance to argue. So, for the sake of our family's reputation, I think I have a duty to go to Ijo. I'll oversee the region, develop the economy, and make life better for the people. They'll be building shrines in your honor before you know it. No, Li Shimin said immediately. He didn't even blink. I was stunned. I didn't expect him to agree right away, but the rejection was so fast it caught me off guard. Why not? You just said I should be working. Because I'm not dead yet, he snapped, glaring at me. You haven't fulfilled your filial duties. You want to run away? In your dreams. You're staying right here in Chang'an where I can keep an eye on you. But Dad, you're always complaining that I cause trouble here. If I go to Ijo, you won't have to deal with me. Out of sight, out of mind, right? I was getting desperate. He gave me a cold, dry look. If you're out of sight, who am I supposed to hit when I'm in a bad mood? I felt a chill. Wait, don't do that. Look at Li Tai. He's getting so fat. He clearly needs the exercise. Hit him instead. You want him to take the crown prince's spot anyway. They say to temper a great man, one must first suffer his spirit and break his bones. Hitting him is basically professional development. Li Shimin's face darkened. Chonglin, get this brat out of here. I'm telling you, the answer is no. Say one more word, and you're getting 10 strokes of the cane. I looked at him, feeling indignant. Fine, you're the boss. You're powerful. I can't win, but I can definitely run. I turned on my heel and bolted before he could make good on his threat. 8 years of experience told me that when he mentioned the cane, he wasn't joking. As I vanished, Li Shimin didn't tell his guards to keep our talk a secret. He knew me. I might be a brat to his face, but I didn't gossip behind his back. Still, he stayed silent for a long time, clearly shaken by what I'd said. Chonglin, the emperor called out. Your Majesty, the guard captain replied, bowing low. You heard everything. Do you think those were his own thoughts, or was he just talking nonsense? Chonglin hesitated. He knew the emperor wasn't really confused. He just wanted a second opinion. Your Highness, Prince Shu might be a bit wild, but he's not stupid. In fact, he's brilliant. Do you think Duke Su is a fool? Li Shimin nodded. Cheng Yaojin acted like a clown, but he was sharp as a razor. My father realized that the things I'd said today were things no court official would ever dare to utter. As for letting me go to Ijo, he'd already decided against it. He enjoyed having me around to vent his frustrations on too much to let me go. Plus, deep down, I was the only son who actually made him feel at ease, even if I did drive him crazy. I walked away from the palace feeling depressed. The script was all wrong. I thought showing off some insight would make him realize I was wasted in the capital. I thought if I annoyed him enough, he'd kick me out to a distant province. Instead, he shut me down without a second thought. I'd been playing him for 8 years, and for the first time, I couldn't figure out what he was thinking. I needed to blow off some steam. Maybe I'd go find Zhang Sun Chong. I hadn't beaten him up yet this month, and I needed a target. I headed toward the city gates, but I didn't get far before I saw a group of palace maids hurrying toward me. I recognized the leader. She was one of Empress Zhangsuan's personal attendants. Greetings, Prince Shu, they said, bowing quickly. Where are you going in such a rush? I asked. Where's Princess Changle? The Empress has summoned Zhang Sun Chong to the palace, the maid explained. We're going to find the princess and bring her back. My eyes lit up. Speak of the devil. Zhang Sunchong is here? Where? He. He should be on his way in now, the maid stammered, confused by my sudden excitement. Got it. Carry on. I waved them off and started sprinting toward the palace gates. The maid stood there in shock. Then, the leader's eyes went wide as she realized what was about to happen. Quick, go find the princess. I have to go back and tell the empress. Prince Shu is going to murder Master Zhang Sun. She turned and ran as fast as her legs could carry her. Everyone knew I hated Zhang Sunchong. We'd been fighting since we were kids. I didn't care about her warning. I reached the main path to the Lijing Palace in record time. Standing there, I looked into the distance and saw him, Zhang Sunchong, walking in with his guards. A slow grin spread across my face. Today was looking up after all. I didn't hesitate. I charged straight at him. Zhang Sunchong. I roared, my voice echoing through the palace grounds. Are you still dreaming about marrying my sister? I was running at full tilt. Since the moment I crossed over into this world, I might have slacked off on other things, but I never neglected my martial arts training. I was in peak physical condition. Zhang Sunchong was walking with his guards when he heard my roar. He jumped nearly a foot in the air. When he looked up and saw me barreling toward him, his face went pale. He didn't even stop to think. He turned and ran. It was a pathetic sight. He was a frail scholar, and I had been waiting for this all day. He didn't stand a chance. I caught up to him in a few strides. Your Highness, I'm here on official business. Zhang Sunchong screamed, trying to plead his case. I didn't let him finish. Thud, my fist connected squarely with his eye socket. The impact was heavy and dull. He let out a sharp cry of pain, the rest of his words dying in his throat. Realizing he couldn't escape, he crumpled to the ground, pulling his knees up and wrapping his arms around his head. You're getting bolder, aren't you? I shouted, kicking him lightly as I cursed. Running the moment you see me? Am I some kind of monster? You're just asking for a beating. Underneath his arms, I knew Zhang Sunchong was rolling his eyes. He probably wanted to scream that I'd find any excuse to hit him. If he didn't run, I'd claim he wasn't showing me proper respect. If he did run, I'd claim he was treating me like a beast. Your Highness, please stop, the guard stammered. They were stuck. They couldn't exactly tackle a prince, especially one who had once beaten Zhang Sunchong right in front of the emperor. Back then, I gave the kid one punch, and my father gave me 20 hits with a rod in return. Stay back. I barked at them. He saw me and ran. Am I that scary? He needs to learn a lesson. I kept swinging. Honestly, Zhang Sunchong probably wanted to die. If I weren't a prince and this wasn't the palace, he would have cursed my entire bloodline. I wasn't just some overprotective brother with a complex. In my past life, I was an only child who always wanted a sister. When I arrived in this world, Lizzie was only 6 years old, the perfect age for a cute, quiet younger sister. She was sweet and always called me third brother with the most innocent smile. Over the years, I grew to truly care for her. But there was more to it. My birth mother, Consort Yang, was a princess from the previous dynasty. Despite the emperor's favor, she was sidelined by the other concubines. She was cautious and never complained, so I made sure to stay on great terms with Empress Zhangsuan's children. If I took care of the empress's kids, the empress would naturally look out for my mother. The idea of my sweet sister marrying a loser like Zhang Sunchong made my blood boil. More importantly, I couldn't stand his father, Zhang Sun Wuji. History remembered that man as a hidden snake, and meeting him in person confirmed it. If my memory served me right, the historical Li Ku was eventually killed by Zhang Sun Wuji. I wasn't about to let my father get even closer to a man who might eventually execute me. Then there was the matter of Li Lizzie's health. In history, she died at 23. Marrying at 13 and dealing with the stresses of the Zhang Sun family definitely played a part in that. I had already managed to ruin the first wedding plans back in the 5th year of Jingguan. She was 15 now and still unmarried, but I'd heard rumors that my father was pushing for the marriage again. I felt the pistol tucked into my robe. If things got desperate, I wondered if I should just use it. But once I fired a gun in this era, there was no going back. A gentleman doesn't put himself in unnecessary danger. I needed a foolproof way to dismantle the Zhang Sun family. Once I had beaten Zhang Sunchong's face into a bruised mess, I checked the time. It was time to go. If I stayed any longer, The guards would return with reinforcements, and I'd be facing my father's cane just to save face. As long as I vanished now, I'd probably get away with it. I had been careful. I gave him a black eye and some bruises, but nothing that would break a bone. He'd be healed in 3 days. If I went too far, it wouldn't be a scuffle anymore. It would be a provocation against the emperor's authority. There was a fine line, and I walked it perfectly. I sprinted away, leaving a battered Zhang Sun Chung to pick himself up. He dusted off his robes, wincing in pain. He was used to this by now. Ever since the marriage rumors started, he had become my personal punching bag. Master Zhang Sun, a guard said tentatively, I've already informed His Majesty. Let me take you to the imperial physicians. No need, Zhang Sun Chung muttered, waving him off. I'll be fine.